Well, hi again. Dana here and David with me at the Life Recovery Coach YouTube channel. Thanks for coming back and visiting us, and please subscribe if you haven't already. This is just our second episode at the Life Recovery Coach, where we talk about hope, help, and advice for anybody struggling with addiction, anybody wondering if they're struggling with addiction, or anybody that knows someone that is struggling with addiction, whether a loved one, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker. We're here to give you answers and help you. David is a life recovery coach. He is a nationally certified intervention professional. We are co-authors of the book, Addiction Rescue, the No BS Guide to Recovery. Yeah. And David's also a national public speaker on the subject. And we're here to give all kinds of tips and chats on what we can do to help improve your life or the loved one's life of someone that's in the throes of addiction. David, anything you want to say before we get into today's topic?
No, just welcome everybody. Good to have everyone back again listening, and we're real excited, and we'll get into it.
And also, if you want to know our backgrounds, we talked about that in episode 1. So if you want to know how we came to be experts in our field, listen to episode 1. Episode 2, today we're going to be talking about what an intervention is. We've talked about David as a nationally certified intervention professional, but we're going to talk Intervention 101. And we're going to just do a little Q&A, and David will kind of give you all the tidbits you need to know about an intervention. So my first question for you, David, is who would come to you for an intervention?
A lot of people that are struggling don't understand where to go or who to call. So they'll call a treatment center, they'll call a hospital. So I deal with a lot of treatment centers and hospitals around the country with families that are struggling. But I've often dealt with people in corporate America where the employers want to find out if my employee is struggling with addiction, right? So I'm going to get these calls coming in from all over, and yeah, usually it's the same thing that I hear.
So when you do an intervention, it's somebody that knows this addict person and they're looking for help because they don't know where to go to help this person in their life.
It's usually a loved one or a very close friend who is involved with a struggling family or friend member, struggling with addiction, destructive self-behaviors. Okay.
My next question is there the right time for an intervention? Would you say an intervention is kind of like the last ditch effort that the spouse or the employer should take in trying to help, or after they've tried everything else? Is that where you call an interventionist?
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm usually the last call. The family tries to intervene, it usually goes awry, or friends come along and say, come on, we can do. And obviously not having the professional training, they don't understand what it takes to perform an intervention with the primary purpose of escorting the loved one to treatment after.
Okay, and that was another question I had. What is the goal? And so that is the goal of an intervention, is to get that loved one into treatment so they can start a different life. I would imagine that the people that call you are pretty distraught. They've probably been through a lot. What things would you say to them to give them encouragement or confidence or advice at that point? What would be your words in telling them what they need to do?
Well, it's also similar to the question that you asked, when is the right time, right? Is there a right time? It's never too late and it's never too early, because obviously if they're witnessing these behaviors, there's something that's going on inside the family dynamic that is broken. So I am here to bring them hope, to bring them a little piece of something that they need to hold on to, that they don't have to keep living the way they're living and feeling the way they're feeling. There is another way. And I am here to offer that path to them and show them some different steps they need to take to feel better, not only about their loved one, but about themselves. Every family dynamic, everyone who's out there has a family dynamic. There is the loved ones, there's the enabler in the family, the codependent, there's the hero, there's the black sheep. Every family has that. But we get to see how this addiction destroys it because of the addict, alcoholic, person with the substance use disorder has been afflicted and the family has been affected.
I know that all too well. Um,
You resemble that?
I resemble that. I've been there and done that. I'm glad I'm on the other side of it now, and that's why we're here, to give people hope to the other side of it now, that we get to experience, and that they can get to experience as well through the help of an interventionist. So we talked about the goal of the intervention is to get the addict to treatment. How do you, in an intervention, get that person to realize what things are being said to make somebody want to go from addictive, active addiction to treatment? What kind of things are going on?
Being an addict, alcoholic, gambler in recovery for a while, I understand the essence of what it takes to speak to a person and understand and really connect with them on a different level. When I begin to identify with them and they begin to identify with me, for the first time, there's an illuminating light. And I often say, it's not about the honesty, it's about the truth. When a man or woman begins to hear the truth for the first time, it begins to resonate with them. Again, that they don't have to keep living like that. There is another path. They've never seen the other path. They believe they're terminally unique and they're going through this. And if you had to live like I had and you had all this stuff in your life going on, constant excuses and justifications and rationalization, we talk about that in our book. So it's really, really important to bring hope to the hopeless, because they are feeling, we say addiction is a disease of isolation and loneliness, right? And they are lonely, they're isolated, they're shame-based, they have all this stuff going on. And someone has to help them relieve that and show them that it's okay to be them, that they don't have to keep living this way anymore. And that's what happens through this process.
That's so profound. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Tell me, and everybody here listening and watching, who would be at the intervention with you?
When I ask the people, the closest family members and friends to be at the intervention, the response that I'm looking for is, you tell me where and when, and I'll be there. Not the person who says, well, I'm going to try to work it out in my schedule to see if I can get there. Because obviously, I want the people closest associated that would lie in crap that they could walk over. Those are the people who care so much about them that are able to pull on the heartstrings of their loved one during the time we intervene.
Wonderful. So it could be family members, it could be coworkers, it could be professionals.
Therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. It could be, someone on the same team, professional team, amateur team. You played sports together, whatever it might be. That close bond, that association.
And what is their role in the intervention? Do they talk? Do they have a say? Are they just there for moral support for you and the addict?
Well, they have written a letter to their loved one, okay? And they will read the letter at a given time in the intervention. Usually, I will let them know I take total control of the intervention to keep it on a structured pace where we're trying to go. And everybody reads a letter to the loved one.
And
There's
is that something
conversation in between the letter reading? I'll do the talking in between and move from them to the next person.
And those letters that they've read, is that something that you've read prior to? Do you tell them what to say or guide them in any way?
No, I just tell them, write any letter you want.
Oh.
The problem is they keep using the wrong name.
Stop drinking.
No, the letters are on a structured basis as well.
Okay.
Just to be brief, the first paragraph might talk about what you were like before you used drugs and alcohol. Often give specific examples. Remember the time we're out chasing frogs or fishing or going to grandmother's or going to a game, how much fun we had. The second paragraph talks about how alcohol and drugs have changed you and you've changed since you began to use. Again, specific examples, DWIs, missing events, isolating, right? Withdrawing from all types of events, activities, loss of job, right? Things like that we begin. And the third paragraph is really no more than please reclaim your life. Accept this gift of help and desperation today and go to treatment with David. we love you. That's the short of it. Obviously, it's in more detail.
That's really powerful, because I'm sure when you're in an active addiction, you spiral down. And when you're being intervened upon, you have no idea how far down you've come from where you started. And so it's kind of a slap of reality, I'm sure, when these addicts hear like, wow, that was me, that was, and now look what's happened. So yeah, I can see how powerful those letters could be. That's wonderful. My next question
is very emotional. It is an extremely emotional process that you go through in an intervention. It's something that people are usually not prepared for. It is not only emotional, it's quite authentic, what you're going to see in there. I have done interventions on some of the biggest, I've done professional athletes, I've done construction guys that, were calling me tiny, and I'm 6'5", 250. And I saw these guys break down and melt, that they couldn't get through their letter because they had no idea of the impact until we bring this to light that this is having on him. And we often say we'd rather do an intervention, pay for an intervention, than a funeral.
Mm. Wow, how profound again is that? Yeah, most definitely.
And for those who are keeping score, that's my ex-wife giving me 2 profounds in one chat. So when we get to 4, everyone's going to get the free book today.
Tell me about when the person that you're intervening upon. I'm assuming it's kind of a surprise attack, right? They don't know this is coming. You kind of tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's interesting. I often relate it to a DEA or an undercover cop, right? If they're going to a home to raid a home, they're not going to knock on the door and say, DEA, undercover cops, you guys want to open up? We're going to bust you. Very similar. I use the surprise model. There's a couple of different models. An invitation model. Hi, would you like to come to your own intervention? Your family's going to be there. It's kind of like, it's going to be a tough deal, but, we'd love to have you show up. Or the surprise, where we all show up and say, I introduce who I am and why I'm here. And we go from there. So the surprise model is something that I've had the most effect with.
And how long does a typical intervention take you?
Well, I've done some that have taken 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I've done some that have taken 9 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the situation, I would imagine.
Yeah, depending on how much anger, how much resistance there is, not willing to go to treatment, the fight that they have in them, that they want, their addiction and disease is talking to them, that they want to keep using, that they're not ready to surrender. And so I often say, start the clock. So we're going to be here a while. Bring out the Milky Way bars, folks, because no one's leaving. I'm not leaving until, you're going to be escorted by me to treatment.
And what if they refused? Have you had that happen before?
Sure. I've had that happen. I did an intervention in Omaha, Nebraska, and after the intervention, very successful executive said to his family and friends, by golly, thank you for coming. Get the hell out of my house. I'm not going to treatment. Everybody jumped up except me. He ran to the refrigerator, grabbed 2 beers, and headed upstairs. I looked at his wife and I said, you mind if I go up there? She says, no. I said, great, because even if you did, I was still going. And I went upstairs and I chatted with this man, probably 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, it took me to get through to him. I yelled down to his wife, Lena, you want to come on up and pack his bags? He's coming with me. What did you say? I said, what I do when I do interventions and I talk to a person. I speak to them and I identify with the pain and the suffering that they are going through and let them know that I have been there. And I don't have to live like that. I talked to him about writing a legacy letter to his 2 young boys. What would that look like? I said, write out an obituary. I said, heck, let's go to the cemetery. Let's go pick a plot out because that's inevitably where you're heading, you know? I said, but on the way there, we might stop at the police station and tell them what a danger you are to society, danger you are to your family, danger to the neighborhood. I said, oh, shoot, they'll probably put you in the psych ward also because you're certifiably nuts like I was, you know? 9 months to a year, maybe minimum stay. He looked at me, said, 30 days, let's go. This was 11 months ago. He's still sober.
Well, congratulations to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you find anything in common amongst the people you see in an intervention, or just the fact that they have an addiction to something?
There's commonality every single one I go see.
There is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The pain and suffering that exists, that we have, the limited self-belief, the shame that we walk with. It's all so apparent when I deal with these people. I see a lot of myself in them when I was using.
And let me ask you this, as far as walks of life, all walks of life? Do you kind of box it into one kind of a category in life, these addicts, or?
When you say that, do you box it into one? You mean, is it like an equal opportunity destroyer? It doesn't
Or
take.
is it not? Is it only affect certain people and places in life?
It only affects certain people that live on Earth. I haven't been to Mars yet, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they have something going on there. But yes, doesn't matter your size, shape, religion, color. It affects us all.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity destroyer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've dealt with all kinds of them.
I certainly have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me your part once the intervention's over. Are you done?
No, I escort them off to treatment. And then I continually work with them for a little bit. I work with the family as well. You mentioned something before. What happens if they don't want to go, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, because that guy didn't want to go, but he did.
Yes.
Right.
And if that wouldn't have happened, I would have talked with the family about it if he didn't go. And sometimes you're going to find that situation. And I say you have to disrupt the relationship as it was. You have got to really cease what was happening with the relationship and change it. Meaning, you're not going to continually reach out to him and call him. But if he calls you, you can be so excited on the phone when he calls and say, hey, Bob, are you calling to go to treatment?
Yeah.
Is that why you're calling?
That's great. And I don't want to get too much into that because that's probably another episode about setting boundaries within the family dynamics if someone refuses to go to treatment or when they come back from treatment, because it all looks different. So I'm going to stop you right there. I think we got a great little chat today on Interventions 101, what people can expect and when to intervene and how it looks and how it works. I want to remind everybody that David's website is theliferecoverycoach.com. You can email him anytime. He will get back with you within a day at david@theliferecoverycoach.com. David's phone number is
612-849-7509. Dana's phone number is
612-968-1490. I help families and I'm an advocate for family members that are dealing with an addict in the home or of a coworker or of a neighbor or a friend to get them the help they need through the addiction and recovery process, because that's a whole nother area that we'll talk about someday. We hope you'll join us next time. Again, if you didn't know what our story was, go to episode 1. You'll hear all about our story and how we got here to the Life Recovery Coach. And subscribe below and leave us your comments, feedback. If you want us to cover something on subject matter, please put it in there and we'll do a chat on it. Anything else you'd like to say, David, before we sign off today?
No, I would. I'd like to say that in 1989, I was intervened on. And that's what sent me on my one-way ticket to sunny St. Paul, Minnesota, and have been here since. So, yes, 90% of the time, interventions done by a professional interventionist always work.
Meaning that the client that you're intervening upon ends up in treatment.
Yes.
As their loved ones are asking.
Absolutely.
Great note to end it on.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next chat.
Bye-bye, everybody.